Hey guys, I hope that whenever and wherever this finds you, it finds you doing well. I get a lot of questions about the proper way to prune muscadine grapevines. And so I thought I'd do a quick video to show you the technique that I use to make sure that we have a lot of grapes, muscadine grapes this coming summer. Pruning is super important. As you can see, muscadines are generally vigorous growers, and if you do not prune these back, not only will they kind of get out of control as far as the shape and size of them, but also proper pruning affects not only the quantity of grapes that you'll get in the summer, but the quality of grapes as far as size and sweetness and things like that as well. And so what I'm going to do is kind of go through and show you some of the steps and things that I look for and things that I do. And I hope that this will help you in some way in getting started in pruning your muscadine grapevines. Now, let me say this. I normally wait until around Valentine's Day to do my pruning. Some people do it a little earlier, but most of the experts that I've read do theirs in February, even up to early March. It's about a week or so later than I wanted to do this, but we've had a lot of rain, and this is the first nice weather day that I was able to get out here and do that. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you some of the parts of the grapevine, and so when I use the terminology of certain things, you'll understand what it is that I mean by that. Now, the first thing that I do is I'm going to start here on the main trunk, and I am going to come through and cut all of these off. I don't want anything, no canes or anything coming out of the trunk. I try to keep all that trimmed off, okay? So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. And then I'm going to come in through here and I'll show you how we're going to get our spurs off of these canes. Now, as you can see, I use what's called a single curtain system. You know, you can run one trellis wire at the top. Some people will have another one and do a double curtain. I always just go simply with the one. That way I can still get my lawnmower under there and it's easier to cut. And plus, these vines can only support so many grapes. And so I still get more grapes than we can even use using this system. So this is just what works for us. Now, you know, all of your muscadines has a main trunk that comes up out of the ground, and then you have these, some people call them runners. Technical name is called a cordon, that runs along your trellis wire. So this is like your main arm that you have that goes from out of the trunk. Okay. Now these the things that we see here from the last year's growth is called canes, and you can actually look and see by the coloring. I hope it shows up good on the camera. See how brown this is? This is last year's growth, but this is some old growth from a couple of years ago, okay? And so you'll hear me talking about old growth versus last year's growth. And so anytime I say a bud or a node, I'm actually talking about these little bumps that you see here on the side of the stem, okay? And so I just wanted to show you some of, the terms that I use when talking about the parts here of the grapevine. Now, I have a little bucket here. I've put some Clorox solution. I take my pruning shears and soak them in that to make sure I've killed any germs or anything beforehand, so I don't want to spread. And usually between each vine, I'll put them in there and swish them around and help sanitize them, just so I'm not transferring, anything bad from one plant to another, okay? I went ahead and thinned this out just a little bit, just so I could show you a little better some of the things I do. One thing is once one vine ends and it starts going into the other vines, I just clip these off, and so I'm basically just clipping the ends at the end of my post. All right, and so, but one thing I wanted to point out, if you notice that these are the growths that we had from last year, previous year. And then again, you have the brown stem from last year's growth. Sometimes these little spurs get too crowded in here. So you see these gray, older spurs here. And you like to have them spaced out. I've read about a hand's width apart. See how we have one here and I cut that one. We have one here and I cut that one. So what I want to do is I go in here and I pick out one of these and just snip that out. take out that one so that I only have one there. And then what I do is on these last year's canes, and this is what I do all up and down the vine, is I put 1 or 2 buds past last year's growth. So whenever the cane gets brown from where it was gray, I just go down 2 buds, and that's where the flowers will be that will make my new grapes for this year. Okay, so you want to thin out this older gray growth to where you have like 1 hand width apiece, but on those new growths from that, you want to leave 1 or 2 buds for each of those spurs. Okay, and again, I wanted to give you a close-up look of what I was talking about as far as here's our old growth, there's the new growth, and you can see these little bumps on the side of the stem. Those are called nodes. And so what I'm going to do is come through here, and I'm just going to leave 1 or 2 of those and snip it off. And so this right here, last year's growth, this is where my flowers will be, and this obviously will be where my fruit's at. And so that's what I'm talking about as far as leaving a little spur there of a 1 to 2 node off of the main canes. All right, I wanted to give you just a little look at what the grapevines look like once I get done pruning. And again, all I did is come back and go through and take these spurs and just leave a few 1 or 2 nodes of the new growth on it. I might actually go in there a little bit later and thin some of these out just a little bit more. But a lot of times people think when you prune them like this that you're actually hurting them, but you're actually doing them a lot of good. Also, something else I was going to mention is that sometimes when these things, I was trying to see if I could find one, when these things are pruned like they are, they can weep, and you can see water or sap coming out the end of them, and so just know that that's normal, and so it won't hurt them. But that's called bleeding or weeping. So if you see that, don't panic. Well, I hope this has helped you just a little bit, just knowing a little bit how to prune muscadine vines. Really for the home owner, and if you're just growing these to have some for your jams and your jelly and just for fresh eating, don't overthink it. Muscadines are very vigorous growers, and so a lot of times we leave more than we actually should. But this is how I've been pruning mine. And last year we were able to get buckets of muscadines out of our vineyard, and so I do know that this is an effective method. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you have a blessed rest of your day. If you have any questions or comments, suggestions, you can put them down in the comments box. But I hope you guys have a very blessed day.